in sandwiches and salads. And so I'm making pasta salad. I'm making 2 or 3 pies. I haven't figured out if I'm going to make three. I might as well. The oven's going to be hot anyways. People eat pie. So, so yeah,
Yeah, that
so
sounds good to me.
yeah, yeah. I'm making apple, probably caramel apple with salted caramel, and then also making uh, cherry berry pie with cherries and blueberries, and then probably pumpkin. I make a pumpkin and sweet potato pie together. So, or I might make a
Sounds
pumpkin cheese.
yummy.
Yeah,
Yum, yum.
I
Wonderful.
know. That's what I was down there. I have pumpkin bread now, and so while you were teaching, Sharon and I went out and heated up some pumpkin bread for my husband and myself, and I'm sitting here drinking my coffee and eating pumpkin bread. And
That's fun.
yeah, yeah, I love the holidays, man. Time to time to drop the diet and get going with the holiday fun part. We'll go back on the diet after the new year, right? That's all right. So Sharon and I are reading Never Forget to Laugh, Personal Recollections of Bill Thetford, Co-Scribe of A Course in Miracles. And it's by our dear friend Carol Howe. And I have to tell you, I just realized this yesterday. I have this book in hard copy, and I'm like, I don't remember buying it. And then I realized Regina lent it to me years ago, and I never returned it.
What
So
is it?
never forget to laugh. The book we're
Oh,
reading.
oh, well, she probably didn't want it anymore.
I,
She's
you know,
gotten out of it.
she was not really interested. I think somebody gave it to her. So anyway, and yeah, it's only I'm curious about people's lives. So I'm always going to be wanting to know about these people and how they
Me too.
did it.
I love stories. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I do. I love
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, well, of course you love stories. I mean, this whole thing is a story. We
Yep.
were born for the story. I'm
Yep.
just closing out some windows so my computer doesn't go nutty on me. Um, but yeah, that's what we're here for. We're here for the party. We're here for the story. There's beautiful key. You can tell what I've been playing all night and listening to. Last night I listened to, you mentioned Corinne. She was did a program with John about the Claires. And so they went through all the different Claires and then um, talked about examples of how they are in your life and all that. So it was really good. It was very interesting.
She's
Um,
very good at what and she's so kind. No, I'm not
yeah.
going to take her other. It's too much money for me, but I took a little bit and it's worth it. But I can't do it every month. Like in other words, it
Well,
was just
yeah, no, and I mean, do what we can. My goodness.
right.
I
But
mean,
I just love her as a person. She's so kind.
I know it.
Again, kindness is so contagious. When someone's kind, we all feel it.
Exactly. It's the only thing that really matters is that
Yep.
song that Jewel sings. Only kindness matters. So, okay, so we talked about Rolfing last week, so I'm going to move forward. Um, okay, so we're talking about uh, Bill attending meetings in Denver. Um, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read this. I think we may have read this already, but I'm going to read it now. Uh, so uh, our fledgling ACIM group, which had started in August 1978, was still gathering when this was 1978. Oh my goodness, was still gathering when Bill began his visits to Denver. He always attended our meetings, considering himself very much a fellow student, as was both supportive and curious. One of the early members recalled He really seemed to accept us all as students of the course and was glad that we, as a group, had taken on this year of study together. It was not anything he precisely said, but it was certainly was his manner. I remember feeling very accepted by him, not special, just accepted. Particularly in those days, I was somewhat in awe of him, thinking, this man is very bright. He has a PhD. He helped put A Course in Miracles together. So obviously, he's in a league different from mine. But I didn't have that feeling around him at all. There was nothing pretentious or ostentatious about him, nor did he look for flaws or shortcomings. He just genuinely accepted us all. Looking back, none of us really knew what we were getting into. I suspect that in those days we were kind of pioneers. No doubt other people were doing something similar, but I got the feeling from Bill of just being complimented for what we were doing. And I just wanted to note on that, this whole paragraph, this guy talking about how Bill was. This is how I felt around Ken. Absolutely accepted, never judged, always loved. Um, that's, and I wanted to bring this up from yesterday's reading that Wayne and I were doing of the impersonal life. Uh, so I'm going to go over to that document if it will let me. And so in the impersonal life, Jesus is talking to this fellow, Joseph Benner, and he's talking about masters. This is a whole section about masters. Um, uh, and he says that any being, either in human or spirit form, that presents himself to your consciousness and claims to be a master, or who permits you to call him master, is nothing more or less than a personality, the same as yours, and therefore is not divine, as your human mind understands that term.
Who
Despite
wrote
the,
that? Who wrote that?
this is Joseph Benner. It's a channeled, um,
Oh, okay. Because I agree with him. Yeah, I
yeah.
have the book. I got it when you and Wayne were going. I have it on Kindle. It's a great book.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this is yeah, he's saying despite, anything, if you call him master, if he allows you to call him master, that's nothing more or less than a personality, the same as yours, and therefore is not divine as your human mind understands that term. Despite the many wonderful truths he may utter, and the marvelous things he may do. Just so long as your human mind seeks or worships the idea of a master in any other being, no matter how lofty or sacred he may seem to you, just so long will you be fed with such ideas until, verily, I may perhaps permit you to meet and commune with such a master. So in this, he's saying, if you don't believe it, I'll hook you up. And it's very funny. He says, if you don't believe it, I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up with somebody who you think is a master. And he goes on about how every single one of them will fall.
Yeah,
Every
they
single
do.
one of
That's
them
what
will fall.
happened, right? They
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Look, I
yeah,
put Regina and Helen on them there because of how they would say things. But I mean, then Helen said she was enlightened. I never heard Regina say that, not ever. But
no,
just the same, it's kind of like he nailed it because that's if you completely have no ego, why would you even come to a group? You wouldn't.
yeah, yeah. So that's what as I'm reading about Bill, this is how he was. He didn't allow people to worship him, or I mean worship is a big word, but you know what I mean. Look at him as a leader. He just saw them as another course student, and they were all just the same. And this is I I hate to keep bringing it up because it really does sound like it's some egoic thing here for me, and it is. I'm sure it's part of my personality, but that's why I love Gather, is because yeah, of course I'm on here because I'm the technical person. I have to make it work. Dove's on here, off and on. He's this guy who started it, there, but I don't consider myself a leader or a teacher. I mean, of course we're teacher. We're all teachers. Every single one of us are teachers. And so we're all the same. And that's what's so beautiful about this is that when you get together with people who are your peers, I mean, I don't think any of you are ever going to go out and say, "Oh, I think Lynn is enlightened." You're not going to say that because I'm just like you. We're all the same. And if you said that, I would say, don't be silly. You know, I- there are many things that I am not 100% on for sure. And there's a lot of, I still do a lot of judgment. I still have a lot of fears. I would never say that, I was, anything other than, a facilitator and a teacher. And that I can say with confidence because I know that it's true. But all that other crap, that's why you'll never have me on a program on my own telling people what to do and how to do it and have people come to me and asking questions and me being the sage to them. I'm not going to do it because you can do it yourself. Don't be lazy. Anyway, Mickey has her hand up. Go ahead, Mickey. Hi, Carrie. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Sharon. Yes, I love what you just said, Lynn, and what you read about somebody that would call themselves a master. And I just really want to say I really appreciate Gather, and I appreciate all the um, everyone, discussing, because it seems like it just helps myself to lift me to be able to perceive things more from a higher level, to go to that decision maker, to step outside the box and take Jesus or the Holy Spirit's hands. It's I really do need my brother too, and taking Jesus's hand as an older brother. But I've been watching Ken's the video. It's on the 5-day academy class on death and dying, and it's so powerful. And in on video 5, Ken says that the Course in Miracles was writ. It's actually written on the lower rungs of the ladder. He tells the audience, because it's written all about the ego, and so that was what you were talking about, Lynn. So I just wanted to say thank you as we all ascend up the ladder.
Exactly. And we're ascending together. Even the guy on the top of Mount Everest is not really closer to the sun than anyone else here in the world. As long as you're here, you're you're still here. And we talked about this the other day about, or I don't even know when we talked about because I listened to our recordings all day long. So God only knows when we talked about it. But the idea of, it was from, what am I thinking? It was from you and Karen reading the uh, healing power of kindness, and he's quoting where Jesus is saying that if a mind is fully healed, he wouldn't you wouldn't stay in the body for any length of time. You would no longer be in the body. And uh I was listening to you guys and recognizing, and I came on and shot my big mouth too, about this is this is how I see it, is that we aren't in a body at all. This is just an experience that we're having. We're experiencing ourselves as being in a body, but the body itself, he says someplace, in not one instant does the body exist. It doesn't exist at all. This is just a projection. And I'm experiencing myself in the projection. Is a very, very uh, graphic projection, and has many textures and many stories, and it may seem very, very real, but it's not at all. And so that the whole idea of what it is that we are, excuse me, is we are spiritual beings projecting ourselves into a material world and experiencing it as true. And that's why the stories, that's why the pictures, that's why the uh the the collectibles and all the things that we do to give our life meaning, the childhood memories, the stories of this and that. We do that to make it seem more real, so that we continue to be fooled by it. But if you take away all the
That's
stories,
beautiful. I love.
it just is no longer real. Sharon, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead, honey.
Oh, I was just going to say, Nikki, where did you get the one? I want to do the one on death and dying because I think that's important as I'm aging. Where did you listen to that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I got it from the streaming site, FACIM, Ken Wapnick's.
FACIM.org.
Yeah.
So
And
was it expensive or?
no, there's 12 videos. It's a 5-day academy class. I did not attend it, but I see a lot. It was full, and it's very, very powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful classes I've ever watched. And I'm having to go over and review it and review it and review it. And I'm on video 6 right now. And yesterday he had a woman in the audience who he knew, and he called her hotshot attorney. And he was telling her how to be an attorney in this dream, in this experience, and that she will have lots of energy as an attorney if she pulls into her Christ mind with asking the Holy Spirit. It'll be like you plug it into the wall, the circuit, the electrical outlet. He said if she goes with the ego on her cases, then it'll be like a battery, and then the battery eventually will die out and she'll be very tired. But he told her that she'll have lots of energy when she plugs into the circuit of the Holy Spirit. And it was really cute because
I love that.
he called her a couple times a hotshot attorney, and it was so cute because she's like, "No, I'm not a hotshot attorney." So it's just adorable. And Jane, who's it was in all
Always there.
classes, who's always there, was there and asked. You could see it was so full because you could see that so many of us here in this experience, our fear is death. And he said that the Course in Miracles, he said you can look at it as a preparation for your death. It's preparing
exactly.
you for
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
because
how much was it? Was it expensive?
No, it's not. It's gosh, it was. I don't remember the cost, but it wasn't, and it's worth every penny in this.
Yeah, it will definitely be something that my husband would like to. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was so helpful mentioning it because I think that's well, at least it is for a lot of us. I guess I haven't died, so I don't know, but I would believe that, at this point I would have a definite like, no, I don't want to die, that kind of thing. Anyway, go ahead, Lynn. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just seeing that there's a problem in Paltalk with the sound, and I see that it says I don't have the mic, so I might have to, you know what, I'm gonna have to log out of. I wish I had known this earlier. Log out of Paltalk and log back in. So hang on just a minute. Poor Nigel, they're all sitting there saying, no plan. Oh my goodness, I need to be paying attention to Paltalk more. It's because this my computer is it's saying that my internet is low, which I'm trying to fix, and that's why I can't. I was trying to get to the FACIM site to see that workshop.
Yeah, I think that Dove was actually passing it out at one point.
Oh, the death and dying. There's 12 videos, Sharon. So
yeah, I would just take one a week, one a month.
And
no, it all comes together.
How you were saying, Sharon, that Ken used to get up at 4 a.m. and write. He was telling the hotshot attorney that she'll just have all sorts of energy. So when you're plugged into that wall socket of Holy Spirit, and he couldn't it was such a large audience, it was kind of dark. And then when he saw that it was her that had asked the question, you can hear the expression in his voice. It totally turned so loving and kind. He goes, "Oh, that's Ellen," or whatever. I mean, he recognized her as the one answering the question. It's just so, what, it's a
I think
beautiful,
we all
beautiful
loved him because
class.
of his humility. He never said, and nor did he tell people how to awaken, because you see, every one of us has a curriculum. So he didn't care. In the end, he would say, just be kind, because he didn't want anyone to hurt. That's how I saw it. He didn't have,
Okay.
also, he never said he was enlightened, not ever. I don't think he would have ever done that.
No, but yeah, that I would suggest you get the 12 videotapes of that academy class. That is powerful, and it's just so interesting because the audience is more an older crowd pretty much. And so you see everyone there, their question is on death. And he also brings up people near death experiences, and why people are interested in that. He answers the question to that, and that might have been in video 4, either 4 or
Can
5.
you tell us what he said about? I mean, I'm going to get it, but
I wish I could right now, but I have to rewatch the video again.
yeah, I would have to too. I can't
Yeah,
remember
but
stuff.
he
Yeah.
really doesn't put much importance on it because it's part of um, that,
The dream.
it's part of the dream, right? And it's trying to make the dream real, because the bottom line is, we're not really here. We never left our father. So, but to tell you the exact words, I'd have to rewatch 4, 5, and 6.
It's a lot to take in. What I have to do now is to take notes when I'm listening to him, because you have to retake it, because these thoughts come in and our egos don't even. Yeah, I think the ego does it on purpose, right? It just goes like this if we don't write things down.
Yeah, I think writing down really helps, and also on a physical level within the dream, it also helps towards memorization. It gets like embedded in better. So
Yeah, it absorbs deeper, because
yeah,
our brain and I don't know what it is. I really don't, but I just think it's helpful. Now,
yeah,
do I do it? No, but my goals have to really be different now, because I just am tired of stories of Sharon. I don't mind hearing everybody else's, but I've heard hers long enough.
Okay, so I do have that workshop on audio, not on video, but on
Okay.
audio.
What does that
Uh,
mean if it's not? Oh, because you can't, you got it on audio, right, Mindy?
I have it
Mm.
MP3s
Right.
instead of videos where you actually see Ken. So,
I don't think that would matter if I saw it. So if you can
well,
send
no,
it.
for me it doesn't because there's no need for it because I don't play videos here.
Well,
Um,
it's also a distraction.
I
Like,
keep,
even when I'm on video, sometimes I'm distracted by my face. So, is my hair all right?
I'm always looking at my hair, so
Yeah. So
that's
like,
why I
it's
cut it
kind of
all
like
off.
the video could be a distraction, at
That's
yeah.
least
why
for
I
me.
cut it all off.
Or remember, Ken used to mess up the hair of the gentleman, the one who wrote The Disappearance of the Universe.
Oh, Gary,
Gary,
yeah,
yeah, he would always mess his hair up.
yeah. And there was a kid that used to come all the time, Jamie, and he used to mess with his hair. And anyway, he was a cute kid. All right. Um, okay, so enough of this. I think I got Pal Talk fixed. So I think we're all cool here. And so sorry that I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. Pal Talk's been messing up on me lately. So it
I don't
wants
know how
to.
you do any of it, to tell you the truth. I mean, for me, somebody could say, well, I'm lazy. I can't, I have to write step by step down, because I think it's
Yeah.
hard.
Well, it's here's something I learned. I recognized actually listening to Ken or not Ken, John Monday and Corinne Zupko yesterday was no, she's talking about the clairs. I've always been, clairvoyant, clairaudient. I can hear things, and I used to call it supersonic hearing. I had supersonic hearing. I could hear things that I knew people were just thinking. They weren't even actually saying words, but I could hear them saying these things. And if I answered them, they would like, how did you know I was thinking that? Because it just is always how I have been. But the other thing that I have that I've always um, experienced too is what was it she called it? Um, claircognizance. Okay, claircognizance. I could um, I can see things I've always seen things, and I know I've talked about seeing other little beings and all different kinds of things, and telling my family, my parents, I was seeing fairies, and they were like, "Yeah, nah." No, no. But anyway, uh um why I started saying that about being clerk. Oh, because that's one of those things that I've never had to I never had to try to figure anything. If I start trying to figure something out, look out, I'm in trouble because I cannot figure things out. And but if I just let go and listen, I know what to do and how to do it. And I can just ask, how do I need to do this? And it will just come to me. And I know when I was in school, this is why I always did so well in school. And, I'm not bragging here because it really is not personal. It has nothing to do with me as a person. It just is a characteristic that I came in with that, they could talk about something and I could understand it on a really deep level to where I could, they could start talking about something and I would get the whole picture of every bit of it. I would just get the whole picture of every bit of it, and I would know, how things happened and why they did, and how things worked and why it did, and so that was always something that was, I mean, it was my helper. To me, I just felt like I had a helper that was, always telling me, even things like, walking across the lawn and being told don't step there and looking down and seeing there's a piece of glass. I mean, that's how clear, this has always been in my mind and why I always was so successful wherever I get it, when whatever I did was just because this characteristic that is part of the personality of Lynn has this like Claire um, uh, situation. So that's why when people say I can't believe you can do this and how great I don't. I have nothing to do with any part of it. It just it was given to me and I can do it.
Yeah, it's
And
coming from the higher consciousness.
yeah, yeah,
So
and really not me at all. That's why, I can't take responsibility for it, other than I allow it to happen and I don't reject it. So that's the other thing too. A lot of times people reject it, when they're being told how to do this and that. And later on they go, wow, I knew I should have done that. Yes, you did know. I knew I should have said that. Yes, you did know. When you know you should say something and do something, do it. Don't be worried that you're going to be that it's going to come back and hurt you or start questioning and going into some sort of an explanation about it. Don't do anything. If you know it, do it. Because how many times, and I know you have too, I know every single one of us has had that to where, we're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I knew I should have said this to that person. I knew I should have done this yesterday.
we
And,
stop it
and
from the ego mind. We stop the flow from the
yeah,
ego.
yeah. Yeah, you question it, you say, no, I don't, and what if that's not true? I'm scared. And, don't be afraid. It's your natural Holy Spirit mind that is working for you and on you to to give you a heads up, give you a leg up. Anyways, okay. Um, so I'm going to continue reading. Enough of this chatter chatter. Okay, so as part of his new life, Bill simply liked being in Denver. He felt relaxed and taken care of, as he was actually shy and naive about many basic areas of life. In Colorado, he could leave behind the academic scripts of New York and escape the patriarchal roles in Tiburon. He could just be plain Bill with as little distraction and pressure as possible. The Prathers, who knew many of the people and circumstances of his Tiburon life, also served as long-distance confidants, although he did not visit their home. Most of their encounters occurred while Hugh was in Tiburon helping to edit Jerry Dompowski's books. Although I never met Helen, I spoke with her a half a dozen times on the phone, either at Bill's home or mine. He had agreed when he left New York to call her every day at noon. Excuse me. All right, I'm sorry, coughing in your ears. Okay, he had agreed when he left New York to call her every day at noon, New York time, a promise he faithfully carried out. Those daily calls were a kind of test for him, and he diligently practiced not reacting to her provocative comments. Um, and in quotes, the conversations usually didn't make any sense at all, but the important thing was extending love. Sometimes she would sound very different, very tender before I would hang up. That was authentic. I didn't understand it, but it was there, end of quotes. And this is from his autobiography. He was ambivalent about calling her daily, although he felt a deep love and commitment toward her, he also felt obligated, angry, and guilty. So he felt like it was a sacrifice. This is when we feel like we're sacrificing our own, fun, good, rest, whatever, to do something that another person wants or needs, without getting anything out of it ourselves. And so, because it was an obligation, um, uh, it was not satisfying to him. And so no matter, she says, no matter what he did or said, or how faithful he was about calling, she rarely found it sufficient. Of course not. Will you find something sufficient if someone is calling you because they're obligated, and you know they're calling you because they're obligated, and you can't be uh, cl- uh, sure of their sincerity or their intent, because she's demanded it, she could never have felt good about it. And I can imagine that she would not have felt terribly guilty about it because she knew he resented it. So, these psychological dynamics that we go through in our everyday lives. This is a real wake-up call here for reminding ourselves, why do we do what we're doing, and what are we getting, what are we getting, what are we giving? And again, I, bring myself into this because, there's many, 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 many a morning when I wake up and say, oh geez, I have to go in and turn on Gather. I have to go in and set this up and do this and do that. And at first, when those kind of thoughts and because I've been doing this for many years, um, when first those thoughts were coming up to me, I was entertaining them and not being really happy. And then this is when the Holy Spirit spoke to me and speaks to me every single time and says, Lynn, you're not there yet. Stop looking into the future. Start thinking about what you're going to do. Stop thinking about what is going to happen. Stop thinking about the schedule. Stop thinking about Pal Talk. Just stop thinking about these things and be here with me now. Be here with me now. And so I would get centered and get quiet and be with the Holy Spirit. And then I would get up and come in here and turn on Pal Talk and get everything running. And what I found is that, in fact, the other day when I had to leave for a meeting and someone else took over the meeting, I asked them to take over. and to make things, keep things working, putting up the book and all that kind of stuff. And when I talked to him later, I was like, wasn't it fun? Didn't you have fun? And she was like, I'm not sure I would call that fun. But because what's happened to me is that I've begun to see this is fun. I'm here with my friends. We're here chatting. We're here listening and learning. A Course in Miracles is being broadcast, out to the world. What fun this is. How beautiful it is to have this opportunity to do this every day. And I still, there's still there's some calls. I do some other calls other than what I do here on Gather. And sometimes they're early in the morning, and I'm like, oh man, now I have to get up and go blah 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 blah, do the lesson of the day, blah blah blah. And that's when the Holy Spirit again says to me, Lynn, you're not there. You're here with me. Stay here with me. And if I can stay here with the Holy Spirit, then I have a blast. My life is nothing but fun and joy. Even when Pal Talk goes down, even when the internet doesn't work, even it doesn't matter. I'm still having a blast because I'm here doing what I'm being given to do. And Mickey has her hand up, and so does Sharon. Go ahead, Mickey.
Hi. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, I think that's interesting where you read in here about that Bill, how faithful he was to calling Dr. Shookman, Helen, because I know I've mentioned it before, but she also had that same type of a schedule with Tara Singh, and he was up in Yosemite, and he had to use the pay phones to call her at specific times. And I've also often thought of you, Lynn, on Pal Talk and how everything is scheduled too, It makes me think too of Dr. Shookman and the book that you're reading, Absence from Felicity, and where she got into total anxiety when there was that snowstorm about Ken. You had read that part where he she was so worried about him, but he was okay. He was traveling to come to see her, and he couldn't call her. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And why is that? Because we think something should be happening that is different than what is happening right now. It's simply it. If we could just let all things be exactly as they are and just be right here, right now, you'd have nothing to fear, nothing to worry about because you know that all things are perfectly um, cared for. Everything is done according to the plan. Sharon, please go ahead.
Do you remember when your babies would wake up? Before they would wake up, we would wake up, and I would say, "Who's waking me up?" Well, it's the presence that's waking you up. Because the ego can't do that. It doesn't know the time. Do you remember that, girls, at all?
Oh yeah, I do it now with my cats.
Right. But I think the spirit is plays so much. So spirit is involved in so many things here. It didn't seem that way the way I was hearing it for a while with other when I was listening to teachers, because it seemed like we had to get somewhere, but there's nowhere to get. And that's basically what we need to learn. Just a matter of getting what is awakening. It's removing the concepts. Anyway,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting rid of the story and not believing it at all anymore because we know that it's not true. And so I'm going to continue reading here. So with the daily calls, they would quickly run out of things to say. So occasionally when we were together, he would pass the phone to me and say, okay, here, you talk to Helen. And I'm going to say this is 10 o'clock in the morning because it's at noon in New York time. So 10 o'clock in the morning in Denver time. So, okay, here, you talk to Helen. They were superficial conversations at best, and I have no idea if she even knew who I was. During one of Bill's Denver visits, however, in contrast to my rather trivial exchanges with Helen, Jason had a radically different experience. illustrative for us all. Bill called her at the appointed hour as several of us were chatting. He then passed the phone around to everyone who could so that everyone could speak with her, and eventually it was Jason's turn. He interacted with her for a few moments, then handed on the phone. Immediately after the quote unquote call concluded, Jason grabbed Bill and exclaimed, I can hardly, Bill, I just heard this voice like it was coming out of heaven. It sounded like it was echoing from inside St. John's Cathedral. It was this majestic, angelic, powerful, soft, clear, feminine, simply beautiful, beautiful voice. How could there be such a richness in a voice, and over the phone no less? Her words were something like, "Thank you for being interested," but it was the quality of the voice. I am blown away that nobody else seemed to be impressed by talking to Helen. Yeah, I can imagine because you and I would probably be like, whoa, I'm talking to Helen Schuckman on the phone. Oh my God. But for these people, it was like, okay, hey, hello, how you doing, Helen? But for this guy, he heard this. And so to Jason's off-field pronouncement, Bill calmly responded, "Oh, she just does that for people sometimes." I wonder if she was doing it all the time and people just were not hearing it. All right. Whether it was deliberate or accidental, as she and Jason talked, Helen accessed the loving aspect of herself that brought forward the course, yet with none of the rest of us present. Even though that was Jason's only conversation with her, 3 decades later, he still recalls. I was totally blown away and grateful. It just was an amazing experience. The voice never interfered with her daily activity, but was always there when she tuned into that channel, so to speak. Her ability to turn it off and on was crucial. She described it as definitely not her own voice, although she recognized it. Most important, that quote channel where the course originally is within everyone, it originated is within everyone, which explains why so many feel a profound familiarity with the Course in Miracles. And I know that was that way for me, and it's probably that way for, most everybody here that we read it and recognized, oh, that's the voice I've been hearing. This is who I've been talking to. Okay, so chapter 13. Would anybody else like to read?
I can read, Lynn, if you want.
Yeah,
It's
that would be great. Thanks, Nikki. Yeah.
okay. Chapter 13. Although Bill was gay, there were women he deeply cared for and considered an integral part of his life, especially after moving to California. I found no evidence from interviews or archaeological records that there was ever an important woman in his New York life other than Helen. This is not surprising since he always had a male. I need to be able to see the rest of it. Since he always had a male partner, I think. Yeah, I can't see the rest of it.
A male partner while living there.
While living there, and Helen consumed almost all his attention. Even during his personal time, it's a wonder he had time for anything or anyone outside his work and preoccupation with her. One of his good friends characterized him as, quote, ambiguously gay, end quote, and Bill told Joe, his first and only girlfriend, that he considered himself bisexual, even though he was not intimate with women. Others opined that he thought and interacted in the world like a straight man, but conducted his private life as a gay man. In his high school essay, he wrote of constantly following his sister and her friends around and about his ongoing fascination with the opposite sex, a fascination that apparently continued into adulthood. In the California era, Bill was attracted to a few other women. With them, he had the same intimate yet not intimate relationship he and I had as well. We have all been confounded at trying to explain what that relationship was like. Also, Bill was concerned that his homosexuality might reflect negatively on ACIM, a sacred trust in his eyes, and spending time with women could provide, quote, cover, end quote. Bill cannot easily be categorized in terms of his private life, and his ambivalence challenged him too. Would you like me to continue reading, Lynn, or did you want me to stop here?
I think
You
she
can,
wants you to continue because
yeah, I can,
yeah,
yeah.
because we
Okay,
read and then we start a new group soon. So yeah,
okay, sure.
you can do it till the end.
Okay.
Thank
Perhaps
you,
he,
Sharon. Thank you, Mickey.
sure. Perhaps he felt safe with women, at least those who are not overly aggressive, just as many women feel safe with their gay men friends, without the complications and expectations of an intimate involvement. Having no romantic agenda leaves room for a deep and abiding friendship. Bill could be very flirtatious and was capable of giving anyone his complete, undivided attention, evoking a feeling of being valued and cared for. Once, when we were walking together in Tiberium, perhaps holding hands, a stranger suddenly stopped and with unusual favor commented on how marvelous it was to see two people who cared so much about each other. Whatever he saw deeply confirmed what I felt too. Our time together was always easy, wide open, and without secrets from my perspective. I found out later there were things I didn't know. We didn't project our unfinished business onto one another, which was not a matter of being polite, but of genuine open heartedness. And in all fairness, we neither lived nor worked together for extended periods of time. And it is usually in such close, continuous relationships where people begin to abrade against one another, survival strategies begin to surface, and opportunities for self discovery appear. All of us have had our share of challenging relationships, but mine with Bill seemed more like a reward, a respite from, quote, learning lessons, end quote. The only time I remember seeing Bill angry was in Tiberium while attending the regular 9 o'clock prayer meeting / discussion group. Judy and Jerry were unhappy with each other over something, and Bill felt their discord was disruptive. In an uncharacteristic display of temper, Bill picked up the text and slammed it down on the table, saying, quote, "If you two don't stop it, I'm leaving," end quote, like a father admonishing his children. That surprising outburst got everyone's attention. He seemed afraid of anger, his own and others, and like so many, defended himself against it. In my research, I found other instances when Bill displayed anger, but I witnessed only that one occasion. Although he rarely revealed his angry side, he was periodically depressed, which usually indicates repressed anger directed against oneself. Hidden anger and upset always continue to disturb one's peace of mind. A noteworthy and consistent experience occurred every time Bill and I were together, whether in Denver, Tiberian, or elsewhere. About 2 days after every visit, I had an unusual feeling of, quote, more, end quote. It did not matter what had happened, who was present, or what we discussed. Something shifted on a level beyond personality or even recognition. If someone had asked, quote, more of what, end quote, I would have answered, quote, everything in general and nothing in particular, end quote. It was less about acquiring information and more about clarity, an insightful process. If I had a specific question or an unresolved issue, it was answered or resolved, but not through my effort. With every encounter, I discovered a new level of internal power, becoming more aware of myself, larger and more loving. This feeling of literal expanding consciousness was a hallmark of our coming together, and it never failed. Additional opportunities for growth were in store for both Bill and me. One morning in January 1979, Jerry called to say that while meditating, he had a, quote, message, end quote, that I should join him, Bill, and a third person, a Shia, to present a day-long seminar on ACIM for the University of California at Santa Cruz, to be held 3 months later in April. This was a shocking invitation, as I had been a course student for only a year and a half. The course does indeed present challenges, and this one raised the bar. Looking back, I can't fathom all I didn't know then, but somehow, by the end of the day, the seminar seemed to be a success, and Bill was greatly relieved. He despised speaking before large groups. He thought a group of 5 or 6 was the perfect size that he enjoyed. However, standing in front of a large group produced great anxiety for him. Not only was public speaking threatening to him, but for his first few years after retirement, he was still trying to avoid notoriety about the course. His New York friends indicated that he always hated public speaking while living there too, relying on tranquilizers to get through what he considered an ordeal. Jerry noted on the drive down to Santa Cruz, however, that he seemed more willing when we were together. On several other occasions, Bill, Jerry, and I teamed up to present the course, once with Ken Wapnick in San Diego in the early 1980s. I had heard about Ken, but hadn't yet met him. Accustomed as I was to making extensive preparations for classes or workshops, the prospect of the 4 of us spending the next day with hundreds of people with no collaboration or planning beforehand made me nervous, to say the least. If Bill and Helen were being rushed in their spiritual evolution, so were many of us. I asked Jerry if we needed to make a plan, and he indicated he had one. He would go first, then Ken, myself, and finally Bill. Quote, that's it, end quote, I said. Quote, that's the plan, end quote. That's the plan, quote, end quote, he said, as if that took care of everything, and for him, it did. Jerry was skilled and experienced at letting events unfold, and I, of necessity, learned a tremendous amount from him. I had no choice but to listen carefully and trust I would know what to do next. As Jerry, Ken, and I gave our various presentations, Bill periodically stood up and announced, quote, I think it's time to do a lesson, end quote. He would then read a lesson, inviting the audience to participate. He felt that teaching ACIM was not his mission, but he was happy to comment on what someone else had to say, and he loved to read the lessons. He could have recited the alphabet, and it wouldn't have mattered. People loved listening to Bill, and they loved him. We ended the day on a happy note, and despite his anxiety, Bill's participation was marvelous. With his beautiful voice and captivating presence, people were spellbound. Over the years, his attitude softened a bit, and he became a little more willing to participate, but he was never completely comfortable with public appearances. It was such a paradox, because he was a tremendously effective speaker, and people were always greatly moved. In Denver, in the late 1979, 6 of us interested in attitudinal healing formed a career based on Jerry's Center for Attitudinal Healing in Tiberian. 4 years earlier, Jerry had felt called to provide a forum for practicing the insights gleaned from ACIM. He established a program based on its principles for children with catastrophic illnesses. Several other groups and/or individuals were so impressed by Jerry's, quote, experience, end quote, that they molded their centers after his. The Center for Creative Alternatives in Denver was either the fourth or fifth center established, and Bill sat on our board of directors, the only other board of any kind he was part of besides the Tiberian Center. In the mid-1970s, the idea of lay people substantively helping one another was a new idea. Jerry pioneered the formation of lay support groups, and within a short time after implementing his ideas, support groups sprang up like mushrooms. When we held our center's grand opening in April 1980, Jerry and Bill joined us. Jerry made a wonderful presentation as always, and Bill remained unobtrusively in the background, but definitely present, adding substance to the occasion. We deeply appreciated his willingness to support our endeavor. During the reception afterward, he had a chance to mingle with the Denver students, which gave him yet another opportunity to witness ACIM's impact firsthand and to hear more of its effect on changing people's lives.
Okay, and I think we can stop there. Sorry, I've been coughing over here. Thought I had muted my mic. Thank you so much, Mickey. And I need to put a link to the room into Pal Talk so that Nigel or someone else can come in if they want to. And we'll be getting ready to go on our next program, which is the chapter 15 from A Course in Miracles.